Realistically, when people are scrolling, they're within the first 5 seconds immediately making a judgment on, does this pertain to me or do I not give a fuck about it? For a lot of people, it's not that deep. And you have to like grab them within that first 5 seconds to make them see the value in what you're putting out there. If you're posting something and you take it too personally, when you feel like other people aren't seeing the value in it, that's going to affect your mental health. It's going to make you question why you're even creating content or posting it in the first place. Because you're like, well, I see a lot of value in this. Why is nobody else seeing value in this?
And we're live. Hi, Liliana.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Want to quickly introduce yourself and where you're at
Sure.
before we
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
into everything?
Well, I'm Liliana Provencial. I'm a 25-year-old mom of my 20-month-old daughter. I'm also a military spouse. My husband and I have been together for almost 5 years now. And I'm also a entrepreneur and business owner. I have been owning my business for the last 6 years. I'm a cosmetic crafter, so I make all of my cosmetics and body care products completely by hand. And then for the last year, I've also been doing graphic design and illustration. I'm coming out with my very first book in January, and I have my degree, my bachelor's degree in digital marketing.
Yes. So 25, 20-month-old running two businesses and a military spouse. How do you prioritize all of those things while also keeping your own cup full?
Well, I have a lot of crying sessions on my bathroom floor. I have a lot of mental sanity breakdowns. Therapy actually really helped. I go to therapy once a week, and it's just a really good like sounding board for me to vent some of the feelings and some of the stress that I'm under. And I also prioritize a lot of like hanging out with my friends and doing other passions that are not business related, that are not making me money. Because before I was a mom, before I was a business owner, before I was all these other things, I was a person first. And I feel like if I lose myself in my professions and in my roles as like a mother and a wife, then I'm not going to be able to show up for those things to the best of my ability. So I try to take regular breaks for myself, and I try to like continuously do mental check-ins with myself to make sure like I'm showing up for all these things to the best of my ability. And if I'm not, then I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go to therapy and I'm going to get a facial, or I'm going to go do a dance class or just something so that I can like get back to who I am at my core outside of all these other things that people know me for.
Absolutely. Is that part of your, I guess you call like routine?
Yeah.
How do you know that you're getting ready to have a breakdown so that you can prevent that? And it sounds like maybe not if there's a few like crying sessions throughout the week.
Preventative, I haven't figured that out yet. I usually do it after the fact.
Yeah. Okay. So like you get a little cry in and you're like, oh, I need to take a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's preventative to an extent
No,
because
for
like
sure.
it keeps
Because
it
I,
from
I never let
like
myself get to a complete breakdown. Like if I have a small one or if I feel like off that week, I will just like take that as a sign from my body and from the universe that like I should not be working right now. I learned from becoming a mom that I cannot do everything on my own. I think growing up in like a family of 6 kids and being the oldest, I was conditioned to kind of do everything on my own and take a lot on my shoulders and be a role model for everybody. And then when you become a mom, like you literally cannot do everything on your own. If you do, you're either drinking heavily or you're lying. So you have to like not only be able to ask for help, but you also have to be able to receive it well. You have to be able to like not feel guilty when that help comes to you. Um, and so I think that's really like one of the biggest ways I'm able to balance everything is I'm just okay with asking for help from people and being able to receive it.
yeah. When I mean in the last like 20 months, when do you feel like you were able to like finally learn and be like, I can now let go? Because I hear mom guilt is like super
Mom guilt
heavy.
is every day. Mom guilt is every day. But I think it was around, I want to say when my daughter was like 6 months old, I finally started feeling okay with like asking for help. I went through like several babysitter interviews because I was like, it's very scary to trust someone with my child, but I
Ooh.
know myself and I know that like I need to have intentional breaks away from my motherhood so that I can feel like a person. And I also need to like prioritize my marriage while I'm a parent. And so having a babysitter was like really, really priority number one after those first 6 months. Cause now like my husband and I can go on dates like twice a month
Mhm.
and he and I can like work on my business together and my daughter's in daycare as of 2 months ago. And I know daycare and babysitters like are not for everybody, but for me, I was like, I have to have that in order to keep my sanity.
Did you guys do a night nurse at all?
No.
Or you just like rock it out and just like not get any sleep
No,
for
actually, my daughter is like really amazing at sleep. She sleeps about 10 to 12 hours a night. Yeah. I know. I'm so jealous. I'm like, I wish.
that's super
I
awesome.
know. Yeah.
Are you guys gonna have do you have any like plans on like having any more kids?
No, we are done after this
No.
one. No, my husband actually got a vasectomy 3 months after I gave birth, so we're done.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's super funny.
Well, that's the other thing
Yeah, if
too.
you
I meet so many like moms and so many female entrepreneurs, and a lot of them don't know how to have their own passion, but also be a mom at the same time. And I don't know, maybe
Mhm.
it's because I never really felt like my entire purpose was to be a mom growing up. Like for some people, that's like all they want to be when they grow up. And that was just never me. I just always felt like I was called to do more than that. And so I love my daughter. I love being a mom, but also like that's not my only purpose for being on this earth, is to just pump out kids and be a housewife. I just feel like I have so much more creativity and so much more to give to the world than that. So having more than one kid just wasn't even a thought that crossed my mind.
that's funny. Yeah, let's talk about your background. Where you originally from?
Yeah, I'm from Northwest Florida. I was born on Eglin Air Force Base. I was raised there. I lived there my whole life. But my grandmother is from Hawaii. She moved to the United States in the 70s, I want to say. And so, like, the majority of my family is all in Florida. Almost all of my family members were born there. Almost all my family members still live there. And it was really cool because I got to go see my family this summer and I got to do a photo shoot with my grandmother, my mom, me, and my daughter. So it was like all four generations in one photo.
That was cool.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really special. I love my family a lot.
And then so born and raised Northwest Florida, which in my opinion, like Destin, Eglin area is like one of the greatest like cities in the United States.
I used to hate it and then I moved to Oklahoma and now I realize how spoiled I was.
Grass is not always greener.
Exactly, exactly. I really thought it was, but then you move to bumfuck Oklahoma and
I'm not gonna lie. I got in a huge, I wouldn't call it an argument, but like I got in a tiff with Jamie because like I joined the guard, like joined the Oklahoma like National Guard or
Mhm.
whatever. And for me, to your point, I was like, there's so much more to life. Like, I don't want to do this active duty job that much anymore. Like I love the people in the community, which I felt like if I joined the guard unit there, I could still have like the best of both worlds, like the people and all
For
that stuff.
sure.
I had never been to Oklahoma before. And I like had just designed this idea in my head that like that was going to be the next 20 years of my life, of our
Hmm.
life. And, she was trying to be all supportive. She was like, yeah, like, sure, whatever. And then I got there and I was like, holy shit,
I
dude.
know, I
It's-
know. Like you think you know everything and then you go and then you're like, this is really how people live? This is insane.
People are eating barbecue at like 7 in the
Yeah.
morning. Like they're just like,
Yeah, it's insane. And the drivers here, no joke, they're the worst.
are they worse than like people who drive on like 98 and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I have been in more like close calls here in Oklahoma in terms of like car accidents than I was in the entire like 20 years of my life when I was living in Florida.
Oh man, where do you guys want to go next? Do you know?
Um,
Overseas?
so my husband's plan is to actually get out of the Air Force soon and join the Space Force in a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
So
That'd
once
be
we do
cool.
that, then I think there's only like 3 bases in the Space Force that you could realistically go to. So it would just be one of those.
I think it's like Colorado. I don't know. Yeah. There's one in Colorado and there's like two other places,
Yeah,
but
it's like
the,
LA in California
Ooh.
and then like Jacksonville, I think, in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah. Would you guys like California?
Yeah, because that's where he's from. So that would be nice. It would
Hmm.
be nice to be closer to his family, but also like Jacksonville would be pretty cool because it'd be close to my family.
Yeah. It's right there. And also like back towards the water and out of the Midwest, either way
Yeah,
you go.
exactly. I hate being landlocked. It's the worst.
Oh, man, that's funny. Okay. So you went to high school. What high school did you go to?
I actually went to collegiate high school in Niceville. So when I graduated, I had
Right.
my associate's degree and my diploma at the same time.
Okay. Did you know Brandon like prior to service at
I
all or
didn't.
no?
And it's so funny because he said that
No.
he also like grew up there and was like born and
Yes.
raised there. I never met him. So it's like really funny that we never crossed paths.
Yeah, that's cool. That's funny because I think he's originally from Crestview
Yes.
and then moved to like Fort Walton like area or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like all my family is in Crestview. And I was born on Eglin and like all my family is military. So it's like really surprising that we never crossed paths.
is that Crestucky thing a real
Yes, it
thing?
is. Yes, it is. It is. It's like Oklahoma, but at least you can drive 30 minutes and you get to the beach.
No
Yeah,
way.
it is.
You think so?
Yeah.
I've only been up there like once, and I was like, I have no reason to come back like to
No, it's
Crestview.
horrible.
But
It's horrible. I mean, thank God they put in like a shopping mall a couple years ago, so now they actually get like some decent foot traffic. But before that, like Crestview used to be a truck stop. It was not meant to be like big booming town that it is now. And so the
yeah,
infrastructure and like the road is just absolute garbage, and everyone is so racist there, and it's disgusting. I hate Crestview.
yeah. My next door neighbor. I mean, this is in Navarre. My next door neighbor, on the other side of my house, not like right next door to me or
Hmm.
whatever, had a Confederate flag like in their
Yes.
window. And then I was like eventually get used to it. And I was like, okay, as long as this guy isn't like throwing bricks and shit like through my window,
Yes.
like we're neighbors. And then when Trump got elected, and not to make this like political or anything, but when Trump got elected, he changed the Confederate flag to a Canadian flag. And I text Jamie and I was like, oh my God, this guy turned a new leaf. And I had no, like, because I'm just like never on social media like that or like Twitter or
Hmm.
anything. So I didn't know that there was like something going on with like Trump and like Canada and
Yeah,
like
yeah, because this whole
all
plan
that
is
shit.
to take
Yeah.
over Canada.
Yeah. I didn't know any of that. And I was like, oh my God, this guy turned a new leaf. I was like, I
Ooh,
should
yeah,
go
no.
over there. June was like, do not do that.
Yeah, yeah. Now imagine your neighbor, and then that is like over half of Crestview. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Like, okay. So I really want to hear your perspective from you and Lucy's first date. Cause do you remember like
Of course
seeing
I
me?
do. That was like,
Yes.
I have literally
Yes.
known you 2 days less than I have known my husband. Like, it's crazy that the first time you and I met was on my husband and I's first date. It's hilarious.
I was just out day drinking, like walking around Fort
Yeah.
Walton, and I was like, "Yo, there's Lucy."
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, "Oh,
No,
this
that
is
was
girl."
that was our very first date. He and I had met on Hinge like 2 days before that. And he was like, I really want to take you out for your birthday. And so he picked me up from my house and he got me a birthday card and he got me my favorite Girl Scout cookies because he saw like a Girl Scout outside of his gym after we had talked about it on the phone that they were my favorite. And yeah,
What are those cooking?
it's the peanut butter ones, the tagalongs.
Oh, yes,
They're the best
yes.
ones, right?
Okay, you can stay on the podcast. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, he took me to that tapas restaurant. You'll have to forgive me, I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, that was our very first date, and now we've been together for almost 5 years, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's funny. Yeah, so you guys like drinking like mimosas and stuff.
That was my first time ever
And
drinking,
then,
by the way.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
was with him
Yeah,
on that
because
day, yeah.
he's only what like 8 months or so like older than you are, I think.
I think so, yeah. He was in April, I was in January, so like 99 April for him and 2000 January for me,
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember he had just turned 21 and I was like, yo, what are you gonna do like in your free time? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I guess what everyone else does. Like he's like, I guess we're like going to the block and stuff. And And so him and I were like at the time like in completely different like friend groups or
Yeah.
whatever. And he had just gotten to the unit probably like a year prior. So I didn't really know him that well. I just knew him from like work and
Yeah.
stuff. And then yeah, I remember when I saw him, I was like, I feel like I'm probably harassing this dude like when I was hanging out with you guys, or
No,
not
not
hanging
at
out.
all.
When I like
Not at all. I loved getting to meet you guys on that date because it allowed me to see who he was like without that like first date mask. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he wasn't
yeah.
able to like hide himself as well when he's in front of his like coworkers and like people that actually know him. So it was really enlightening for me. I was like, wow, he's like actually a good person. He's not just trying to impress me.
I used to take Bilotti on first dates with me because like me and him are just so like
Yeah.
close. And like Bilotti, as you know, is like such a wild, like just awesome like
Yeah.
personality. And I would text him and be like, yo, I'm about to go meet up with this girl. And he'd be like, yo, come get me. He'd be like, yo, come scoop. And I'm like, all right, bad. So I'm gonna pick him up. And like the first hour, it would always be like weird, obviously, but I would always like let the girl know and be like, yo, I'm bringing like my best
Yeah.
friend with me. Are you cool with that? And then like it would turn into just this super fun like event, like this all day thing where we're just like hanging out. Like
Yeah.
since we had lived there for so long, other people would like show up and like it. Yeah, it was just like a great time. Like
No,
I
I
used to
tell
love doing that.
people all the time now, ever since I had that experience where I met you on our first date. I'm like, I'm a firm believer now that when you first start dating someone, you should meet their friends, like right away.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Oh man. So at that time, you had already started your business, like based on
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
timeline.
yeah. So I guess I can like start from the very beginning.
Hmm.
When I was 18 and I graduated college, my original plan, a lot of people don't know this about me, but my original plan was to become an elementary school teacher. I really wanted to teach first graders. And so right out of college, I started a semester of my teaching degree and I shadowed with a third grade teacher in Crestview. Keeping in mind my previous comment about racism, that semester did not go very well. It was really traumatic for me. I absolutely hated it. Not because I don't like being around kids. I love being around kids. It was the teachers that I was with. They just had like this
Mm.
apathy about them, that they didn't like their job, that they hated the kids that they were teaching, even going so far as to like making racist comments about third grade children. It was just appalling to me. And I was like, as much as I love children, I just can't imagine doing this as a career. Like, I would probably want to shoot myself in the brain every day coming home from work. That would be horrible. Um, so I dropped out after a semester, and my parents were giving me a lot of pressure about going back to college because I grew up in like a very Asian household, and so like going to college was everything. Um, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was like, what the fuck do I do now? I had a whole plan and now it's just out the window. And so I was doing some like Instagram influencing kind of on the side because I love playing with makeup. And that's like a really big thing for me. It always has been. And I stumbled across a course on how to make your own lip gloss. And I was like, that could be kind of fun. Like, I'll pay the $40, whatever. I'll just make some cute little lip glosses for my friends. And it really happened by accident. And I've taken like several cosmetic formulator classes since then. And so by the time Lucien met me, I had already been doing the business for like 2 years at that point. But I had also left my really abusive boyfriend like the month before I met him. And so I was just feeling like really conflicted about my business. I was like, I started my business around the time I met my boyfriend. I was in a really horrible living situation. I was really depressed. COVID like tanked my sales at that point. I was getting maybe like one order a month, and that's like being generous. And so I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. But Lucian knew how much I loved it. He knew that like it was my passion, that it like lit me up whenever I would be able to like give a product to somebody and they actually like really loved it. And so he was the one that actually encouraged me to keep it going. He was the one that came up with the name Silkish Beauty. It was all his idea. And he funded all of the money I needed to like rebrand and completely start over. And so without him, I wouldn't be a business owner right now, truly.
That's really cool,
Yeah.
actually. So when you were doing the lip gloss, was that just like you created some lip gloss, put it on like your Instagram story, and people were like, I would like to buy some of that,
Yes.
please.
Yes. Yeah. No,
Really?
it
Yeah.
really happened like that. I was doing the Instagram influencing. I made a lip gloss. I started posting about it. I had a really big like Snapchat following at the time from like people all over the
Ooh.
country. And so many of my friends were like, "Oh my God, that lip gloss is gorgeous. Like, where can I buy it? Where did you get it from?" And I would be like, "I need that." And it really just like took off from there. It happened totally by accident. And before I knew it, I had like a complete skincare line. I had lip glosses, I had cheek tints, I had all kinds of stuff really. And it got really big for COVID. And then it just like tanked and I had to start over. I don't know what the future looks like for me, but I do know that I am so much more than my business. I have so much more to offer than my business. So if for whatever reason it ends up closing or I'm no longer able to continue doing it, I have so many other passions and gifts and talents that people will still like respect and admire and love me for. So I don't feel as attached to it as I used to. Because when I very first started it, I was like, this is my right path. This is everything I'm meant to do with my life. I am really, really good at this, and I don't think I'm good at anything else. And I've just realized that like my worth is not tied to my work. I'm so much more than that.
100%. And that's such a great insight because I did a podcast a little while ago about I was trying to like promote the master sergeant when I was still in at the weapons school. And like as you know, especially with Lucy having gone through the course, like that is not just a glimpse of my life, like that is my life for when you teach there. And so I tried to do a really good job before I left of like keeping certain people like Lucy for a perfect example. Like I hit him up. He was like, I don't want to go work there. And I was like, I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you from like doing that. I don't think you guys had your firstborn yet, but he was like, I'm trying to start a family and like do the whole thing. And so I was like, cool, got it. Like, no, kind of as much power as I can have.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, after having done that for so long in that lifestyle, I was like, I have to make E7. I was like, I'm working so hard. There's like no question when I go up and get boarded, like I'm going to make E7. And then when I found out that I didn't twice, like 2 years in a
Oh,
row, I was like, yeah, I was like, I have to step back from this and understand that like that is not who I am as a person. Like my worth is not tied to me getting promoted, like
absolutely.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where the 10 years prior to that, it was like award, promotion, award, promotion. Like I know Lucy knows that life because like he's had an awesome career as well.
Yeah,
And
but
so
you know,
I got through
he's
that.
just like you. He gets really devastated and like
Yeah.
internal when he doesn't get promoted. So I totally get it.
And I don't know if that's like, I'm so curious if Lucy prior to the military had that personality
He did actually.
or if that's,
He
you think
did,
so?
yeah, because when
Yeah.
he graduated high school, his original plan was to become an engineer, and he
Hmm.
got denied for so many colleges that he applied to because
That sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
because in California, which is a great thing, they prioritize diversity, and he is a white dude from California who comes from not a lot of money, but you know, pretty decent money, and they just his grades were not good enough and he wasn't diverse enough. And so he got denied for all those things and he was like, "Well, I don't really have anything else going for me, so I guess I'm just going to join the military." So he's always been that way. He always ties like his work to his value. And I try
Yeah.
to remind him like he's so much more than that, but he gets in his head about it too. So,
It's tough.
it
It's
is.
tough, especially people who are like intrinsically motivated by like achievement.
Yes.
Um, it's yeah, that's hard. I struggle with that
I do
constantly.
too. I do too.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good trait too at the same time because like when I first got into coaching, it wasn't necessarily because I thought like I knew more than whoever I was talking to and like I was just, whatever, for whatever reason. I genuinely just want to like help people have conversations and like I've gone through this incredible transformation throughout my life. So I'm like anything that I know that I can provide to anyone else to help them, like I'll
Yeah.
do it. But I realized since I started coaching probably 4 years ago that we are in such a small majority of people as far as like wanting to achieve. There's so many more people that get in their heads far beyond the point that probably all three of us, like you, me, and Lucy, get into, where it like restricts them from doing anything and they just can't take action on anything. And I was like, if you want to make money in this field, like that is who you coach. I just don't have the mindset to be like, oh yeah, if you go do these three things, like you'll be successful. And then the person's like, I didn't do any of those three things. Like, I don't know how to like coach that.
Yeah, I know. But I think a lot of people take comfort in their stagnancy.
Yes. Yeah.
People take,
That's a great way to put
yeah,
that.
people
Yeah.
take comfort in their misery. They take comfort in not pulling themselves out of a situation because the thought of them failing or the thought of them not being able to pull themselves out of it scares them too much. Or the thought of them
Mhm.
doing all the work to pull themselves out of it scares them too much. I am one of those people that like if I am uncomfortable enough, I don't care how much work it takes me. I'm going to pull myself out of it because I hate being uncomfortable. And I would much
Yeah.
rather start over, change something, talk to somebody, whatever it takes to pull me out of that discomfort if it means that I get out of it.
That's a really good trait to have, to be like completely honest. Okay. I do want to talk about creatives because in a previous episode with my friend Caitlin, she does like a book talk. Like that's her thing. It's like super enjoyable to her. She would like to monetize with it or from it, I guess, but right now she understands that that's just like a long path. And so she's just kind of like doing it for fun. And if something comes out of it, something comes out of it. But with all that being said, as you know, creating content is like just so the algorithms are so fucking confusing that it's like you could pour your heart and effort into something, get 3 likes, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And I feel like that completely burns people out. With your marketing background, like, this is more a cry for help for me too. Like what do you do in that situation? You just keep making content or
Yes.
like
The
okay.
more consistent you are, the more the algorithm will reward you. If you only post like once a week, or if you take like several breaks and hiatuses in between posting, the algorithm is not going to reward your effort. So the more consistent you are, the more that the app is going to be like, okay, they're active, they're continuously like putting stuff out there. It may not be like trend worthy or viral worthy, but they're going
Mhm.
to push it out to more people the more consistent you are.
Yeah. I've noticed, like I said, I'm doing like the 1,000 posts in like 3 years or whatever thing for myself. I've noticed that I spent the last 2 weeks posting pretty much every day just to
Mhm.
see. I'm not planning on like going viral. I don't even want like virality. I'm such like a not introverted person, but like I don't need to, I don't know, make videos with like Jamie all day. Like I just don't use my phone like that. But with all it being said, I understand the concept and like that kind of shit's funny and that's why people watch it. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, I go for morning walks. I usually am like, as soon as I get out of bed, I'm ready to act like a menace. And so I'm like, okay with recording that because it's just me. Like I'm not pulling her into it or whatever. So I did that for 2 weeks and I noticed that Instagram was like showing it to the same probably 20 people and then seeing how they interacted with it before it pushes it to the rest of my followers, which that was just data that I collected myself, I guess, over the 2 weeks. Is that a true like statement?
Yes, it will show it to the same group of people that are either closely connected to what you do, or maybe they have been like longtime followers, or you interact with their content a lot. So the algorithm feels like
Mm,
they're going to interact with yours. It's going to show it to that same group of people. And depending on if they share it, if they comment on it, likes are not really a big deal. But like commenting, call to action type stuff. So like if they're reposting it, if they're sharing it, and that sort of thing. If they're doing all of that, then they're going to push it to more people.
okay. What is like, I'd never heard of calls to action in the last 2 years
Mhm.
or so. And now I see it everywhere. Well, there's also like an influx, as there's an influx of influencers, there's also an influx of like coaches for
Yes.
influencers.
Yes. It's always
And
on a cycle. It's always like regurgitating old information.
yes, 100%. Yeah. But like the calls to action thing, is that something you learn in marketing or is that just like typical
No, I
psychology?
learned that in marketing
Okay.
because you want your content to have some type of value to it.
Hmm.
even like funny shit posting type of content, that still has some value to it because like you're sending it to your group chat, you're sending it to someone that you think will find it funny. You're contributing to the culture of what our society is finding funny at the moment. So no
Yeah.
matter what you're posting, if it has some type of value or some type of like, I am going to do something with this, then that is what you would call a call
Mm.
to
Okay.
action.
Okay. And you would want to tell people to go do that
Yeah,
thing, like in the captions or like in the video, or does that not really
both.
matter? Both? Okay.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about YouTube 10 years ago where people were like, yo, go like, subscribe, like, comment, and blah, blah. And it was just like a funny thing that I was like, oh, all YouTubers say this, but I didn't realize like what it was
Yeah,
doing.
it's
And it's,
reminding people what they're supposed to do with your video instead of just watching it. Because views are important.
yeah,
It's going to tell the algorithm like, hey, people are watching this, but they're not going to push it out as heavily unless people are doing something with it.
100%. Do you feel like that culture is oversaturated or is it impossible for calls to action? Are they so important that it is impossible for calls to action to be oversaturated, if that makes sense?
That's a great question. I think for content that doesn't have a lot of value, if you have a call to action in it, it's eventually like it's gonna die out because nobody is getting
Mm,
anything out of it. If you're posting purely just for like clickbait or for attention, eventually like the mask is gonna come off and people are gonna like notice it and it's just not gonna be viral anymore because we live in a very fast-paced society where new thoughts and new ideas are always being put out all the time. So, unless you're like constantly changing it up and giving your followers new value every single time you feel like it's going to start to go down, then the calls to actions are never going to be saturated. It's just going to be like the value that you're putting out there. Is it grabbing people's attention? And usually, if something
yeah.
has a lot of value, it's always going to grab attention.
What do you feel like that's doing to the mental health of society, specifically in like your target audience or like the demographic that like you're speaking to?
If you're posting something and you take it too personally, when you feel like other people aren't seeing the value in it, that's going to affect your mental health. It's going to make you question why you're even creating content or posting it in the first place. Because you're
Mhm.
like, well, I see a lot of value in this. Why is nobody else seeing value in this? Realistically, when people are scrolling, they're within the first 5 seconds immediately making a judgment on, does this pertain to me or do I not give a fuck about it? For a lot of people, it's not that deep. And you have to like grab them within that first 5 seconds to make them see the value in what you're putting out there. If you don't do that in the first 5 seconds, they're not going to give a fuck. They're just going to keep scrolling. So yeah, I think a lot of people like they take it personally when people don't care about what it is that they're posting or what it is that they're doing. And it's just like, that's not really how it works. It's a very saturated environment. There's a lot of people doing things all the time. And if you're not
Mm.
grabbing their attention right away, then it's just going to scroll on past them and they're not even going to think about it.
Huh. Hey, friends. If you're finding value in these conversations, it would mean a great deal to me if you would share the episodes with your friends. Word of mouth is how this show grows. It's how we reach more people with stories like these, and it's how we build this community of people preparing for their finest hour. Every share and every additional listener allows me to put more resources back into making this show even better for you. If you would do that for me, I promise to work intently to ensure this becomes a show you genuinely look forward to, rather than just another podcast in your feed. If you need something to share, you can head to yfhpodcast.com. Again, that's yfhpodcast.com. There it should have everything you need. Thank you, and let's get back to the show.
He loves helping with my business. He actually has learned a lot of my formulas. So if I'm like busy with Cordy or if I'm at like a networking event or if I'm doing some like back end work with my business, he knows exactly what to do to make like 80% of my products. So he normally will like do it by himself or he'll like help me set up for a vendor event or he'll even like put himself into my content sometimes. And he loves He loves it. He loves what I do. He loves being a part of it. But like you said, he's in the military. He has his own interests, his own aspirations. So he can't always
Hmm.
help me with it. Very much the
Hmm.
majority of it is on my shoulders. So it's definitely like a balance, give and take type of thing.
Absolutely. What's this is gonna sound like a ridiculous question because it may come off as like duh,
No.
but how do I want to ask this? I want to go back to the abusive relationship that you were talking about, if you're
Yeah.
okay with like
No,
talking
that's
about
fine.
that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think like some people really grasp what it's like in your own growth to have a supportive partner versus a non-supportive partner. I think a lot of people the question hasn't come out yet, but like that's kind of where I'm going, where I think a lot of people they'll be like, oh yeah, my spouse like kind of sucks sometimes, like kind of thing. And then you ask them to like go to the movies with you or like, play video games and like all that other kind of stuff. And then the spouse is just like, fuck no. And you're just like, well, this is my hobby. I guess I should be doing this by myself. And so I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, how important do you feel like the support of your spouse in your hobbies and like your own venture is? And then you've already kind of talked about like what that looks like for
Yes.
your life. Could you
Yes.
expound on that
Yes. Yes.
versus
Yes.
how it was previously?
I
Yeah.
know so many female entrepreneurs, friends of mine, that are moms, that are wives, and they don't have supportive partners. And it just like amplifies all of the hard that comes with being a business owner and being a mom if you don't have that support from your spouse. I can think of a very specific example with my ex-boyfriend. He and I lived together. He had his like grandmother and grandfather living with us. So it was like all four of us in this house. I had to make all of my product on a picnic table in his bedroom because his grandparents did not like my business. They did not like what I was doing, and they wanted nothing to do with it in like their offices or in their living spaces or anything like that. So I had to do all of it in a picnic table in a corner of our bedroom. And that was how I did my business for like the first 1.5 years before I left him and I met my husband. And it just amplified everything that was so hard about being a
Hmm.
business owner. And I am a firm believer that if you're with someone and they care about you and they support you, they're going to take on the hard things with you. You're not just going to do it all by yourself. And so that's like what is really nice about having Lucien is that he takes on all of the hard things with me. I never do anything completely by myself. If I have a bill that's coming up that I know I can't pay, he'll be like, okay, well, can we go halvesies on it? Or he'll be like, no, don't worry about it. I got it covered. Or if I have like a lot of networking events that week, he'll be like, okay, I'll watch Cordy. I'll take a longer lunch break. I'll do something to help you with it.
Okay.
So if I did not have that, it would just amplify everything and make it so much harder. And I think that's why there is a very small amount of mom business owners. They're just not very common. They're very rare. And it's because a lot of their spouses are not supportive of what they do. They feel like it's taking them away from their motherly duties or taking them away from their wifely duties. And it's like, no, if you love your wife, you should support them. You should be willing to take on the hard with them because you know that it makes them happy. So I think it's very important.
How have you felt like your communication has grown, or like how do you feel like you can communicate with Lucy basically to get him to that point, or was he always like
He
that?
was always like that. He was always like
Yeah.
that. It was never really a conversation of like, hey, can you care about my business as much as I care about it? Can you respect my hobbies that are outside of you as much as I respect your hobbies that are outside of me? That was never really a conversation. It was just always an understanding. This is going to be a really hot take, but I think when a lot of people get together with someone and they become spouses, they think that they have to do everything together.
Exactly.
They have to do everything
Hmm.
together. They have to be miserable together. They have to have the same interests. They have to have the same hobbies, whatever it is. And I just don't think it's realistic and I don't think it's healthy either. I love that he and I both have things that we enjoy that the other person is not directly involved in, but they're always going to help out with, and they're always going to be supportive of, and they're always going to be like, yes, tell me all about that. I want to know because I care about what you like. I love that he and I both have things like that, that we can just like share with each other and that we can talk about with each other because the other person
Mm.
is not directly involved in it. It's just something that there's a supportive like ally on. I think that's super important for like a healthy marriage.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm doing the podcast. I'm going to school. I got a job. Like, I'm also in the guard. Like, I just have like a bunch of also like
Yeah.
crazy things. Jamie is pursuing her own, I mean, she's pursuing her own career. Like, she's well established in Vegas, which is why I moved out here. But we were talking to our therapist, and she was like, "Oh yeah, so both of you guys really enjoy like your alone time." She was essentially alluding to like what you just brought up, and I could see that that's what she was talking about. I was like, "Oh, Jamie and I have already had this conversation." I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm like Jamie did a really cool thing of just like we ship my couch out here. We have we like split this like huge TV or whatever because I enjoy playing games, and every house in Vegas is built like a fun house, so like." There's 3 stories
Yes.
unnecessarily. And so yeah, so she like hangs out on the top floor where her TV and her couch and like the dog will either come down here or go upstairs or whatever. But last night, like both of us have had exceptionally long weeks. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm trying to play video games for the next like 5 hours. And she's like, cool, perfect. Cause I'm trying to like binge whatever show like she's got. And then we both went to bed same time. And it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It felt as if we hung out together, but like we
Oh,
didn't, but not in a way that we needed to be like next to each other. Like both of us felt recharged this morning.
yeah.
She's going to a party. I'm obviously doing the podcast, and I was like, I will not be there tomorrow. Like with you, I was like, I'll be podcasting, and she was like, oh, okay, cool. Who you podcasting with? Blah blah. And so I totally like agree. To what you just said. It's
It
so
is very
important.
important. And I feel like if you don't have those separate hobbies or like that separate alone time to like recharge, then you're never going to be able to like fully show back up for each other once you are like reconnected. What are you even going to have to talk about because you're so codependent?
Yeah. Damn, that is funny. Okay. I do have one final question
Okay.
for you. When it comes to, so 2 questions. I wanted to turn this podcast, I still do, into a business, but like all my guests have been friends. And that's what I enjoy. Like, I just enjoy like hanging out with my
Yeah.
friends. But obviously I live so far and like everyone's moved away. So I was like, this is my capacity to like hang out with my
Yeah.
friends. But for a while I was like, man, I want to quit my job so I can like podcast just like everybody else. I was like, I want to like have a cool job and not a job where I have to like show up on someone else's like time
Yes.
and like like that
Yes.
kind of but that, to be quite frank, like completely burned me out. I like didn't even want to do the podcast, and I just
Yeah.
started just because I was like, oh, retention is low, which means I'm never gonna get paid for this shit, blah blah. And
Yes.
like, I'm not even 20 episodes in. Like, why the fuck am I worried
It
about?
takes all the
Like,
fun out of it when you turn it into a
yeah,
business. It really does. And I wish it didn't. I wish we lived in a better economy and in a better society where we don't
yeah.
have to tie our livelihood to our passions. But unfortunately, that's just the circumstance that we live in. And as a creative, you have to find a really good balance between do I love what I do and can I live off of it?
Mhm. Do you feel like that, if you remember that picture that I showed you earlier, I guess just to represent
Hmm.
this, but do you feel like that might be the wrong thing to try to promote
No,
then? If you've
no, not at all.
no, because I feel like trying to teach to a bunch of people how to start a business off of their passion so they can quote unquote make enough money that like their passion can be their lifestyle, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like based off of what you and I just talked about, that's like a dark path. Like, it feels like it becomes a dark path.
I think a lot of people they just want a job that they enjoy that will also make them money. I don't think they go into
Mhm.
it very deeply where they're like, "Oh, but I don't really enjoy it anymore because I have to worry about sales and I have to worry about social media engagement and I have to worry about all this other stuff." I don't think they think about it that deeply. At least in my experience, because I have so many entrepreneurial friends who actually really do love what they do and they make like a really decent livelihood off of it. And they never have that conundrum where they're just like, but do I really enjoy it?
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. I'll have to thank you too for the, I guess,
Mm.
vote of confidence. So I continue to research
Yes.
that.
I definitely think you
Um,
should. I definitely think there is a correlation between stress and money.
and I think to your point earlier, I think it's like very societally like driven. Also the cost of living for fucking everything is so
It
absurd now
is,
that
yes.
it's like you feel like you have to make a bunch of money just to exist
Yes.
anymore.
And unfortunately, a lot of businesses are not very honest or transparent about their financial well-being.
Mm,
Yes,
really?
for me, in my experience, I have met several business owners that talk about how they make six figures. That's like the very big thing to say in the business world. I make six figures. And in reality, once you take out business expenses, taxes, livelihood, like
Mm-hmm.
cost of living, all that other stuff, in reality, they probably make like four figures once you add in all that other stuff. But on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, they make six figures. They must be doing really well. In reality, that's not
Yeah.
really how it is. I have actually met several business owners where they're like, I cannot afford to go on this like $200 business retreat. But then they post about how they make six figures.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
I know. That's one of the reasons like why being a business owner has been so discouraging over the last couple of years is because
Yeah.
my honesty and vulnerability, it may not make me the most successful person, but it makes me the most honest person. And a lot of people don't
Mhm.
like that. They want to be fed the narrative that if they put in a very minimal amount of work, they're going to hit six figures. And that's just not how it works.
Thank you again for your time too. This
Yeah,
has
of
been
course.
awesome. Going back 5 or 6
Yeah.
years. So like prior to meeting Lucy, um, you're headed it from high school to go and become a teacher. And you're in that moment where you realize like, I don't want to do this anymore. What do you feel like one tangible thing you've learned from who you were then to who you are now that you think our generation, quote unquote, could like take away from that?
I think we have a very negative stigma around quitting and starting over. It feels like a very big thing, a very impossible thing that not a lot of people in our generation feel comfortable doing. They're more complacent and more comfortable with just staying where they're at because the thought of starting over or trying something new is way too scary for them. You see it with everything. You see it with careers. You see it with college. You see it even in like abusive relationships. A lot of people don't want to leave their abusive spouses because the thought of them starting over and dating is too scary for them. And I think when I hit that point at 18 where I did not want to teach anymore, it was very scary because I was like, what do I do now? I'm living with my parents. I don't have a career. I don't have any idea of what my future is going to look like. But I knew that if I stayed in it, that I would be miserable for the rest of my life. And I was like, I just can't do that. I would much rather face the uncertainty of change than stay where I am and hate my life.
That's awesome. That's a great way to end the episode too. Liliana, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything you have extra to add, or if you're like, you want to do a shout out to like your business page, your Instagram, or anything like that?
Well, if you want to follow my business page, it is at Silkish Beauty on all social media platforms. I also have my graphic design business, which is at lilypad.designs. I do logos and graphics and stuff like that for small business owners. But I guess my final comment I would like to make is if you're in a place where you're stuck and you're thinking to yourself, like, I want to get out of it, but I don't know how to. It's such a cliche, but just do it scared. Always, always, always do it scared. You only have one shot at changing your life. And if you don't take it and if you don't do it scared, then you're never going to do it.
Thank you so
Yeah, of
much.
course.
Fuck yeah.